I almost wanted to text you, Jeremy, to say that I had to delay this because a bird hit my window and I was really concerned about him. And I was staring at him and running back and forth, but he's okay. He flew away. FYI, he's fine. But I was really worried that he'd need me.
We might actually be including this right before your guys' bio because that was incredible. Is the bird okay?
Bird's fine. You know how they get all like, and then, yeah. He was in like that mode, and I thought I'd have to like, because they can like, the idea is that you write them and their blood pressure or whatever bird thing writes, and then they can fly away. If they like tip over or on their backs, it's easier to write them.
Amazing. So we're probably going to use this. This is going to be the first time that we use the stuff that we do for the warm-up. Hi, plotters. KT was talking to us about birds. The bird is okay. If we don't use this, who knows? And let's go ahead and talk about you, KT. KT is a writer, director, and performer. Some of her publications are The True Story of the Hitchhiker Who Was Shot in Pursuit of Kindness. I love that title. It was released by Narratively. And Holy Jolie, a 10-minute play published by Geeky Press. So KT has done voiceover work. I don't believe it, KT. Show me your voice.
I'm right here. Behold.
Oh my gosh. Amazing.
It's true.
So good. KT can also sing. Can you show us that too?
It's in there. That's true.
So she sung with the Indianapolis Symphony Orchestra and developed gallery theater and children's theater pieces for museums in Maryland. She's a graduate of Iowa Playwrights Workshop and Towson University. Towson, okay. I don't want them trying to find me with like sickles and what are those things called? Torches?
They'd be too sleepy. They're probably asleep. They're night owls.
So other credits include Lovebird and Off Central Players, St. Petersburg, 2 p.m. in Faith, Nebraska, Women Works Playwright winner. Okay, she has a long list of things, y'all. New York Musical Theater Festival. Let's go backwards on this. What did I mess up, KT?
You don't have to say all that stuff.
I do want to, though. New York Musical Theater Festival, Jerome Fellowship finalist, Eugene O'Neill National Playwriting Conference Fellow. Holy crap. And let's just do the Musical Theater Award Kennedy Center, where I met KT in Washington, D.C. So I'm not going to do all of these because I keep having really impressive people on the show where they have a long list of awesome things and I have to pick it out. And then I feel really sad. And I'm like, do they hate me that I'm not doing all of them? And please feel free to comment below if I offended you when I mispronounced anything for other people who have gotten these same awards as KT. I'm totally down for it. Let's do this. KT, so which one's your favorite of the places that you've gotten an award at? Or one where you have a really great, funny memory?
Well, I got, okay, is it a grant and award? Because my favorite, I think, is when I was working in a museum at the time. I worked in museums for forever. And they opened a new dinosaur gallery, which sounds cute and quaint and everything, but it was like a multi-million-dollar affair. Do you remember the IMAX screens that used to be like a bubble or like a golf ball, like way back in the day? And then they were like, crap, no one wants to go to movies with a ball. And so they all, and then they filled it with dinosaurs at this museum. Anyway, they put in this new dinosaur exhibit and they discovered that like all the little boys were totally down to clown. They'd walk in and be like, dinosaurs, yeah! And they weren't afraid or intimidated by anything. There was a lot of like really cool sound and light and vid design where there would be like thunderstorms and crazy shit. And little girls were having a little bit more trouble finding like entry points. So I wrote a grant to go on a dinosaur dig, which is completely self-serving because it's something I just always wanted to do. But
I'm reading a dinosaur book right now, so this is synchronicity.
Oh, I won't give it to me because
We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about it later. Yeah.
But I went to South Dakota and I I Boy Scouted it up. I dug for dino bones, and I came back and I wrote a paleontology piece about Mary Anning. It was super queer. It was awesome. Just this interpreter traipsing around in a skirt, in that very kind of masculine energy place. So the little girls had a place to like, super satisfying. It was just I was happy about the piece. I was happy about the experience. I wrote that in like 2004. They are still using it in that museum. I think like every day.
Amazing. That is
Isn't
so
that nuts?
cool. That's amazing.
Crazy.
So, Greg, you're up next, and plot twist for this one. You have to do your own bio.
I got to do my own bio?
Yeah, you have to read your own bio, and it's because you were so self-deprecating, and I don't want to sound like a jerk the first one.
Are you worried about offending me?
You got to do it. I dare you. I double dog dare. By the way, these two lovely people are people I coach. So it's not like they're random strangers that I've had on the show. So we're a little bit more relaxed. And if you have anything against cursing, this is probably going to be one of the episodes you want to skip out of. So, all right, Greg, we're ready for you.
That was the greatest preamble I've had. It's like, like if you're worried about being offended, well, here's Greg.
That's how I introduce you to all my friends, Greg.
I didn't even start yet,
All right, Greg. Tell us your amazingness.
Like I'm a doctoral student. I'm actually doing my dissertation in fiction. I was given that allowance by the university, which is pretty exciting. But as I put in my last minute bio, I go to the state school. So it's really it's all good, I've been able to find a couple publishers who've been able to put my out there, which really is that's the dream. That's the goal. And I did invent peel and eat shrimp, as well as tapioca pudding.
Thank you so much for those contributions.
So I like to give back.
So KT, you know Greg well, right?
I met Greg at a fiction conference in 2017. He was just so. I'll talk nice about you, Greg.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want somebody to talk nice about you now, Greg.
I love that you are so loving, and you want people to be happy, and you are so inappropriate, and you're both, and you're just one of those people that like makes you feel like, what is happening? And you were so supportive of me. You didn't know me from Eve, right? And like offered your counsel and friendship, and like led me through a lot of kind of dark submission hours where I was like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. And Greg, while he's like super, right, like self-deprecating and like, oh, I'm just a turn on a windowsill, he's like, you're the most amazing, beautiful molecule being that's ever been birthed. You give a lot of positive.
You told me that, Greg.
It's copy and paste. I'm sorry.
Well, it's a good copy and paste, my man. I'm very grateful I met you. Thank you.
Cheers.
Yeah, we'll definitely have Greg back on the show talking about the crazy things you can make happen if you, how do you say it? He doesn't have that like, that fear that people have, like, oh no, I'm gonna be too much. He's like, no, I'm down to do this. I'm gonna ask this question. I'm gonna get this random famous person to talk to me for 3 hours, and he makes it happen.
Jeremy, I can't. The famous people that he knows is bizarre. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna go hang out with Clive Barker next weekend. I always assume he's kidding. I said, oh, you're serious?
I've got an in. I can't say that,
Get out.
Wait, hold on. He's calling me right now. Let me.
Out.
Oh. P.S. If Greg leaves, it's not because he's offended. Most likely it would be us leaving because we got offended. But no, if Greg leaves, he just has to step out because he has like a very important call. Right, Greg?
Yes. That's it. It's not allergies or anything like that. It's just an important call.
Just make sure you're above the ocean, because in the submarine, it's not good to open doors.
No, it's not. It's kind of like when I had a basement apartment in Venice, and I accidentally like opened the windows. Like, why did we even have windows there? It was really, really dangerous. I don't know what was going on there.
Terrifying.
All right. Thank you all for your patience for
Can I
this
run to
really
my-
awesome, long introduction. I loved it. In the comments below, please let us know how you felt about it. I'm always open for feedback, as long as it's not like cursing me out. Yeah. So the first thing we're doing, which I'm really excited about, is your 3 tips. You all behind my back have come up with 3 tips for writers. So what is your number 1, KT and Greg?
My number 1 is just don't bullshit yourself. And that sounds really aggressive, but it kind of is. Like, write for you, write because you want to. There's so many billions of people that will be disappointed, or the subjectivity of our work, like someone's not going to like it. Who cares? To me, writing is so much about mental health and me experiencing joy with my everyday, acknowledging joy before it like slips desperately away from me, So write for you. And who was talking about it? I think it was Steve Martin in one of my late nights. I can't sleep version, right? He throws out those goodies, but he said something like, when people asked him for advice of how to be noticed or how to be professional, how to get good ideas, how to, all the things that somebody would ask in the front row who's a little sweaty, like either here or like under the armpit. I've been that person. I am that person, But, he's like, just be great at what you do, which sounds also like, but it's so freeing. Like, if you want to write something down, you must give a shit about it. You must be passionately engaged enough to withdraw from the chaos of our world to say it, to craft it, and to care to have someone else read it. So within all of that, I think it's sacred, man. I think it's so beautiful to do it, because no one may ever read it, but lots of people might. And ain't that it? Like, that is just totally the reason that I keep doing this.
The opposite is true too. Like, if you don't write it for you and you wrote it for someone else and then you get rejected, then no one was on board your piece, including yourself, right? So if someone says "F you, I don't like your work," at least you did, And I think we've all been in situations where maybe not Greg, just kidding. No, but we've all been in situations where, we put ourselves out there and then we have gotten rejected, and then we're just like, well, what was wrong with it, right? But if you liked it, you can always go back to that later, like after, because it always hurts, right? You're always going to have that instinct to judge yourself. But if you had fun, what can you do, right? Greg, do you have thoughts?
Rarely. As far as the tip,
wait, is this still for tip 1?
Are we tip 1?
Yeah. Do you have any thoughts on this, or do you want to go to tip 2?
Well, like thought number. Okay. So on your explanation before, I didn't know if it was, we were supposed to come up with 3 tips. I didn't know if that was 3 individually, because
oh my gosh, you guys are bad students. We're going to talk about this in your next client calls.
We can. I'm going to get moved
on.
You
had a good one, Greg. You had a very, very excellent one. Why did you talk about that one?
Talk about it.
Said something really deep.
What?
Oh yeah. So, no,
are we going on 2?
Should we go on 2?
Yeah, let's do 2.
Okay.
Is this this great one? Wait, is this great one, KT?
Is this what?
Is this his great tip? You said he had a really good one.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it.
I'm just afraid I'm going to start
do it.
talking, and she's going to say that wasn't that one. And then
okay, so number 2, guys. We're going for number 2.
Number 2. All right. So, something that I've done is, like, whenever I start a story, okay, I have never successfully written a play. I am in no way going to be confused for KT or anything like that. But I find that when I start to write a new story in play format, I have to just put the onus, like so much concentration on this character interaction, the development. There's not the text, there's not the same type of stage direction. So I want to put these characters who I'm really just getting to know at this time. I want to put them under the spotlight. I want to see how they're going to interact. I want to see what fears are going to expose themselves, where they could be heroic, where they're going to be, funny or scared. So, and I find that when I put things into that simple stage format, that I'm not going to get lost in my own ornamentation of describing a scene or anything like that. It is simply stripped down to character A, character B, and let's see what's going to happen. You're going to fight it out. Are you going to get along? How are you going to make this work?
So if you had to break down your tip, Greg, into just like one sentence, what would you say it is?
I would say it might be look at your story through like a just completely different format.
That's great.
And to say, does it hold up? Because really, it's going to be your characters that need to drive the story. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to get in the way of, and this sounds somewhat self-aggrandizing, but I don't want to get in the way of their development.
Sure.
That's wonderful.
Ooh, I want to add something. Something else that Greg does really well is, he comes from being this comfort that he has with just the impulses it's just so free. He also does a lot of stand-up, and I find stand-up to be literally the most terrifying thing I could possibly imagine in my entire life. So I think it's interesting when he talks about character development or breaking down story at like a draft one, right? That it to me anyway, and I could be full of shit, but it seems like he's also placing that spotlight, he even said, on imagining if he was behind a mic and talking to an audience and it was just so true that it hurt, and he's so good at that. And I feel like a lot of writers have to dig really deep to get to that truth. Like, what's that writing coach, Jack Grapes, who does the method writing in LA. I've never taken his course or anything. I've read one of his books, but he talks about I forget what he calls it, something like other side of the coin or something, but it's a way of drilling down to a truth. You start with I sentences, say a statement. And then the other side of the coin is not the opposite of that statement. It's just the same thing coming another way. And you drill down to the truth. I feel like most people have to drill down and expose what's real, but Greg is he just comes from I'm just going to say it. And that is just a terrifying way. And I'm so attracted to it. And I want to make sure that that's clear to people who are watching you, that when he talks about being, having the ovaries to experiment in a style that is not his, he's coming from somebody that'll stand up and be like, I had this one joke, but I just got up and did this whole set because it's people. I'm like, that is amazing. It's amazing to me. I think it's so brave.
I think that's a.
If I can go cry in the corner for a little bit, I need a break.
Go ahead.
It's a wonderful tip. Like for me, when I'm writing, I oftentimes take especially with a novel, I will transpose it into a short story. They have the thing treatments, right? We have to do treatments and stuff, but I try to make it like a once upon a time story. And if you can take something and put it into a short story, Greg was talking about a play. I oftentimes think screenplays are really great because you have to commit less to a screenplay than a novel. Novels are usually over 60,000 words, right? A screenplay on average is 25,000 words. And if you can't get it to work out in a screenplay or a short story, then you know that there's something maybe that you need to work on. But if you start a novel and you're raise your hand, you all, pantsers? Are you guys pantsers or plotters? Pantsers?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I don't need to organize the plot.
Say what?
I'm not organized enough to plot.
Yeah, so I was originally a pantser, now I'm a plotter. So we all started with pantsers, but if you're like, yeah, let's feel this out, and you get halfway, right? It's like you're on a boat, you're like on a canoe or whatever, and then you don't, and you're like, okay, where am I going now? You just are drifting sometimes. But yeah, shorter form, it's really smart, Greg, because then you can be like, oh, I need to work this out, right? But there's less stress because you spent less time, right? You haven't spent 2 years.
Right.
Yeah, it's
This is
supposed to be
yeah.
fun.
I
And
hope.
and one thing I was taking away when I asked you to like make it in a small sentence, another thing that I took away from it, and I just wanted to be sure what you were going for, is just to play. Like
Yeah.
it just sounds like you were like playing around. Like we get so serious and we have goals. We want to be the next famous author. Like we get into all of these things, and what happens is we instinctively start cutting out risks, right? Like we don't want to risk anymore because we're looking at this ultimate outcome. But if you're playing, I have a draft right below the first draft, and I call it my ugly baby. And that means like it might not have a head, it might not have arms,
I love it.
it's gonna look terrible. I will never tell people that this is my first draft. I will
Ugly
I
thing,
will
yeah.
commit crimes over allow people to see that draft, right? My partner, I told him if I ever die, all of that stuff has to be like burned.
You can cremate it with you, bro.
Burn it.
Burn that first.
Yeah, play is our bonus. So we have 2.5, and then I want you guys to do like a Stephen King, like reading each other's minds, like a Carrie or something, and come up with number 3, and pretend like you guys discussed this like you were supposed to.
Oh, we discussed it.
number
We just
3?
did twice as much as we were supposed to.
Heck yeah. So what's number 3?
Okay, let me get.
What
I've got
one
this
were you guys
giant-
both
there we go.
excited
Greg,
about?
gaze into my eyes.
Where are they? I'm confused with the camera thing. There you are.
Okay, what are we gonna say? I'm gonna count down from 4 because it's the number I thought of. 4.
Yeah, can we start with 17, perhaps? Get a little extra time there.
1. We both talked about perfectionism quite a bit, which I realize is the other
Perfect.
point to play. But I feel like we both had helpful things to say about that. Do you want to go first? Read paper, rock, scissors.
Yeah, all right. I'm really good at this because I pick rock every time. Okay.
Let's shoot. Ready?
Damn.
Greg, you're going.
Yeah.
You're going.
Perfectionism. Well, like we're talking about that, and I think that the hindrance to perfectionism. Okay, there's especially too when I started writing, and I was thinking about the whole perfectionist. It's like and I felt like before I was able to read the words on paper that I had just written, I'm already envisioning what the critics would be thinking of it. I'm already like envisioning some catty, snarky Amazon review or something like that. And I was like, so like I was intimidated by the ability to speak. Can we cut that? No. But I was like nervous because I didn't want to try to say intimidated again. By what someone would think. It's like, who really cares? Like, I'm the only person who sees this right now. This is draft 1. And you have to be pretty confident to share first draft really with anybody. And so I think the thought of perfectionism is best answered by, are you afraid of a real person, with this, or is this just like is this another character that you've just created? And if you had the ability to create this character, you also have the ability to kill them off. So I would say good beats perfect all the time.
You made me think of the quote from Daring Greatly: the courage to be vulnerable, to show up and be seen, to ask for what you need, to talk about how you're feeling, to have the hard conversations. I don't even think that's it. The one that I know, the Derek Greatly that I know, is Brene Brown talking about how like it's easy. By the way, I recommend Brene Brown to everyone because she's amazing. But she was talking about how it's easy to give somebody criticism when you're on the sidelines, but to go out there in the dirt and the muck and bleed, right? And you learn so much from it, from just putting yourself out there. But everyone's going to have an opinion. One of my, not you all, I'm not passively aggressively talking about you all, but one of my coaching clients released something on their Instagram, and I have the rule. You all haven't heard it yet, plotters, but I know KT has the C+ rule, like always taking your things out at C+, because listen, that's passing. That's a passing grade. You can learn so much from it. Well, he did that. And I was looking through some of the feedback, and somebody said, this is so cringe. This is so cringe. Going back to what you were saying, like, I don't think he's going to hear anything worse than that, right? But somebody had that opinion, and then I look on their Instagram, and do you think that they're doing anything cool?
I'm hoping not, you know.
No.
And like, this guy's just killing it. And
no, they're not. But yeah, and then I look at the supportive people, right? His friends who have awesome, you know, like they're doing really well on their platforms, and they were just saying great job for doing it, you know? Like, but I guess people don't usually think that way. Like somebody had to put themselves out there, all flaws and all, right? But we learned so much from that.
But also, this is like, process is everything, and so you don't know what point of the process the person is on, you know, and you sharing it with someone or a zillion, whatever you do with your life, I don't care.
Yeah.
Social media. Oh my God, I'm a grandma. I just mean that you don't know where that person is. They may just have had to do that, to do the sharing, because it did something or unlocked something and allowed them to complete a rewrite, or allowed them to let it go, or allowed them to like whatever. But one of the things that it comes up a lot, because I adjunct a lot, or at least I did the last couple years, and you know, teaching young playwriting doodads, just beautiful little humans who so desperately need to write plays right now, just for their own health and connection to everything. But what comes up a lot is they're crippling. Of course, there's a lot of anxiety these days. There's a lot of overthinking or blaming perfectionism for being absolutely stunted in any type of ritual or work pattern that you have. Excuses I get over and over from students are, well, because I'm a perfectionist, you see, they qualify with, well, I'm a perfectionist. And I go, okay. But what I learned, because at first I'd be like, oh God, I mean, do you think that like lots of people who work on things don't want things to be perfect? Generally, everybody's a perfectionist to a certain extent. But what I learned is it's actually just their relationship to time, because nobody wants to feel like they have labored in vain. No one wants that. No one wants to feel like they've labored in vain, that their ideas don't matter, that they're not connected to something great. They're not, you know, it's that. And once you kind of scoop out that infection, you know, I'd start having good conversations about just, what do you want? Like, what do you want right now? Decide that you want right now. Like, I had this student, Sammy, if you're listening, he's probably not. College. I will never forget this. He got real one day, and we were talking about blocks, because I love talking about habits. I love talking about ritual. I love just getting all of that out so that they can just analyze the how, like analyze how they're doing stuff. And if they want to change it, they can. He said, man, I have this recurring dream. I've had this recurring dream for so long. And I just feel like no matter what I do, it's going to be pointless in this life. And I'm like, whoa. But, and I know I had that reaction too in my heart hole. But it was what he was going to say next. And I said, well, what was the dream? I said, what happened in the dream? And he said, I have it all the time. And I have since I was really young. I'm on a planet that's like desert, arid. There's a bright orange sun in the sky. and I'm standing in the desert, and my job is to like lift up all of these stones and fit them back up into the sky to try to blot out the sun so we can have some shade. And I never do it right, or I never have enough stones, or I never, and I'm just like, which goes back to my comment about Jack Grapes, of just continuing to ask questions and digging down of like the other side of the coin. I said, well, what are you afraid of? And it, again, is back to that idea of time and wasting time, and I don't matter. And what if I'm not, I should be playing golf, like I should be a professional golfer, like what if that's my calling? It's like, if you let all of that go, it's just what you want. Like we got to a place with Sammy, like, well, what do you want? Like, do you want to protect other people? Are you trying to like save other people with like the shadow of the sun? We just had him break it all down. And it gets into real juicy territory because our motivations are sometimes really deep and mysterious. And I think he, like me as a writer, is very interested in alchemy and transmutation, right? Like there are writers out there who, I was thinking about them this morning, like, so if you take like a playwright like Jen Silverman and you say, what's her thing? Like, what's her alchemy? Like, what is she doing? Well, I know that she's very interested in desire. Like that's what drives her. Lauren Gunderson, I would say what drives her is more like romance and language, right? So figuring out what your engine is. I'm a very romantic person, but my driving force is within alchemy and transmutation. It's about like, I said transportation, words, transmutation.
I'll do it.
Listen, doing it. It's the
I quoted, I don't know what the hell I quoted. Greg got stuck on a word too. What was the word, Greg, that you got stuck on?
I'm not going to try to say intimidated again.
Oh, you did it. Listen, plotters, this is what it's always going to be. It's not going to be edited because it's no fun. I think it's actually more enjoyable to see people messing up. We take each other too seriously anyway as writers, so this is always going to be really casual. Just FYI. So if you like that, please click like now and subscribe. Yeah. KT, before we go on this, I did want to also mention with what you were saying with perfectionism, one thing you can do is think about what you can do that is of service with your piece for others, right? Like instead, we oftentimes, when we have perfectionism, it's a very fear-based thing, and fear makes us selfish, right? Because we would then want to protect ourselves from the fear. So if you're just like, I have like a minority group in this, right? I'm a minority group and I want to write something for a minority group. When you place it on that, right? Like I want to say this truth, it takes the fear away, right? Or like what you were saying, the alchemy thing. Like if you have a purpose that is beyond you, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you're religious or spiritual, or you want to do something for other people, if you place it on others, then it helps remove some of the fear.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't even finish my thought. It was like...
Oh, is that what you were going to say?
The transmutation for me is like all about like grief and trauma into like joy. So in a non-pedantic way.
That's
a Hallmark movie type of way. That's just all I'm really interested in. So... Because I think, to your point, Jeremy, I think people can get just as intimidated by thinking of like service to others as they are by like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, it should be so big and serving. And then you get like, oh, you get all weird in another way. So for me, just the energy of like what genuinely is exciting to me. I just want people's grief and fear and challenges to be useful. And how do we move toward joy, right?
Heck
so yeah.
So KT, what was our number one?
Can we rewind the tape a little bit?
Rewind it. Number one tip was about stepping outside your comfort zone. Sometimes it's good to be writing in other genres or styles in order to get unstuck. Amazing. Greg, what was tip number 2?
I need to rewind.
Oh, rewind. We're rewinding.
Tip 2 is like when we're talking about just like changing like formats, and basically forcing yourself to look at your story in a different way.
And then 2.5 is play. Just find a way to play with the story. Yeah. And then you all have to say number 3 at the same time with the exact same words. 4, 3, 2, 1.
Let your story suck sometimes.
Oh, this was awesome. KT, Greg, thank you for coming onto this call. Like, this was awesome. You all plotters, I'm going to have links for KT and Greg's work below. Please check out their material. They are very, very talented human beings. And if you're interested in being coached, or you're just interested in continuing with the show, just look in the description box. Yes. Man, I'm gonna blame you all for this. Just kidding. It's like, totally me. I infected you all with this. Like,
it's okay.
Say what?
Writing coaches don't need to know the words. It's completely it's fine. It's fine. What's in Jeremy, right? Is this how you hashtag? Like
hashtag. Right? Yeah, but if you are interested in us at all, just go ahead and go to the description box below. Please like and subscribe. Tell us what you liked about this too in comments so that we can do more of it. Also, tell us what you hated, and I'll try my best to make that not happen. All right.
When you talk about what you hated, spell my name right.
Spell Greg's name right. All right. Bye.